Welcome back to Home Theater Gurus. This is episode 21. So what's the biggest influence in home audio or home theater or even two-channel? What's the biggest thing that influences what hits our ears? Now a lot of people are going to say the speakers, the amplifier, just a number of things, but a lot of people forget about what actually is the primary influence, and that's the room. If you've ever gone and demoed speakers, you walk into a room, their demo room, and it's not a regular room. And they're not going to tell you this, but that's just not some Joe Blow room, full of reflections. And you walk into that room and you sit down and you listen to these speakers and you're like, wow, these speakers are so crystal clear. Everything sounds so good. And, they're not going to tell you that it's the room because they want you to buy that speaker. And you get that speaker home and it doesn't sound anything like it did when you demoed it. So then you go back and, maybe it's the amplifier, so they'll sell you the amp. Or maybe it's those cables, so they'll sell you the cables. All the while, they know what it is. It's the room. They're treating the room to make that speaker, or really any speaker that's put in there, sound best. Or sound much better than it would not in a treated room. For the last, 13 years, I've had dedicated home theaters in 2 different houses. Like I said, I'm fixing to sell this one. It's under contract, and I'll be doing a third. But I've had many speakers in my living room that wasn't treated and really wasn't ideal. And I've had those same speakers in my movie room or my theater that was treated, and I can tell you it sounds nothing alike. Blind tested if I were to walk someone in the room, and then, the living room, and then walk them into the movie room and bring those speakers with me. And then, okay, let them listen. There's no way in the world they would think they're listening to the same speakers. They would think the speakers in the movie room cost multiple times more, much higher end speakers, just blows them away compared to what they heard in the living room. And all along it's the same speaker. So let's look real quick at what happens in a room and makes it necessary to need room treatments. Okay, so here's our not so pretty rectangle. This is going to be our room. So let's go ahead and put some seats in there. And let's get our speakers in there too. And they're going to be at the optimal 60 degrees, if we remember that from episode 1. Oh, my seat's backwards. Someone pointed that out in the episode before. I did the whole episode with the seats backwards and the cup holders facing back. Don't want to do that again. Alright. Now let's look at our center channel. Now you remember we kind of touched on this an episode or 2 ago. Here is our direct sound. Now let's say this is 14 feet away. And that's going to be about 14 millisecond. Kind of ballpark it and say every foot takes a millisecond for sound to travel. So it's taking 14 milliseconds for that to hit our ears. Now that's not entirely accurate, but it's ballpark, and that's just kind of what we use. So, reflections. Let's use a different color. Okay. And it's going to be on both sidewalls. Now this one here, it may have traveled 5 feet further, so maybe 5 milliseconds later this blue one is going to hit your ears, and it's coming from both sidewalls. Okay, and then we're also going to have a reflection, the second reflection bouncing here. Now of course this one has traveled a little bit further. Now my points or my reflection points aren't going to be to scale, so just know that, but these are happening in a room. Now of course these have bounced twice. They're going to be a little bit further in delay, so these right here have traveled a pretty good distance. They're going to be lower in volume, lower in energy, so these our brain could probably strip away. These here are going to be very strong in energy and are going to be hitting just a few milliseconds later. These really aren't good at all. Alright, now we also have one coming off the back wall here. Now depending on how close you are to that back wall, say you're 6 feet away or 5 feet away, say 5 feet, that's going to be 10 milliseconds longer because you've got 5 feet to the wall, then 5 feet back. So that's going to be in that window to where it's also causing a lot of damage. And then you're also going to have one on the floor, if it's a hard floor, and the ceiling. So if you think about, so how many reflections do we have here? We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, and we'll count the ceiling. We'll say there's carpet in here. That's 5 reflections. We're not going to do these second reflections right here because they're lower in energy. We can kind of forget about them. Now that doesn't mean that you're not going to notice a difference if you treat them. But we're just going to take these that are real high in energy, and their output combined is going to be greater than what we're getting from our direct speaker. So if you imagine you're in a crowd, or you've got, say there's 6 people in a room talking to you, and they're all saying the exact same thing. One of them is the center, he's the source, and the other 5 are all out of sequence. They're all milliseconds behind the source, behind the, what the original one's saying. They're talking over each other, and you're struggling to hear what's being said because the other ones won't shut up. So what that does is it fatigues you. You find it fatiguing and kind of tiring. So you go up there and you boost your center channel because you're having trouble with the vocals. Well, when you boost that center channel, you also boost all these reflections, so everyone else gets louder too. So it just kind of creates chaos in in the detail of what's happening in the room, what's being said. You lose that detail and that focus. All right, so now we're going to take one of the mains. Let's take this main right here. So that's our direct. Okay, we're going to have our ipsilateral right here. We're going to have what is called the contralateral, which is coming from the opposite sidewall right here. Those two are going to be very strong. This one is going to be extremely strong right here because it's literally probably going to travel 2 to 3 feet further. So 2 to 3 milliseconds, you're being bombarded with that. This one right here might be 6 or 7 milliseconds later. Depends on the width of the room, but it's going to be pretty strong too. And again, we're going to have one back here. It's going to be pretty destructive. All right. Now, if you remember a while ago, we had all of these reflections from the center channel. So now we've got these right here. Oh, and we've also got another one I forgot about here. All right. The second reflection. Again, this one may not be quite as powerful, or it's not going to be. Its energy is going to be less than the others that are getting there quicker, but it's still going to have an impact. So you've got all these reflections going on, smearing the detail and focus of this one speaker. But remember, you've also got the center channel, all of those being laid on top of this too in this room. And then you've got the same thing as this happening on this right speaker. So when all the speakers are playing, the room is just filled with these reflections that are smearing the sound and making it fatiguing. And it's just not going to be a pleasant experience. And what I mean by pleasant, if you've heard some of my recordings when I'm in the movie room, you notice the detail is so quiet. Now my mic is here. There it is under my shirt right there. So the distance, from my mouth to the mic is extremely close, but to the walls, it's much further away. So it's not as bad with a mic because I'm so close to the mic. But you can still notice it when I go into the movie room. It's so much quieter. The detail, it's very, very easy to hear my voice. It's just cleaner, a cleaner sound. Now, when you walk into the theater and you sit down and you're watching a movie, it is instantly relaxing. It is. At the end of the day, we spend a lot of time watching Dexter or, different series in the movie room, and it's just relaxed. Just being in there, period, is relaxing. Your brain can relax. The detail is so much better than what I have downstairs, where I have a carpet, but I've got more reflections. It's a living room, so I haven't treated it. The next one, I'm going to do some room treatments or what I can in the living room, but it is night and day. Now my speakers are no better downstairs or upstairs. They're pretty equal. I've got Fusion 8s downstairs and some towers that I built. Showed them on the last episode, and here they are here. Excellent, excellent speaker. Every bit as good as the HTM12s I have in my theater. But they sound nothing alike. This theater, like I said, you just sit down and you just relax. Your brain, it's like everything is so clear and clean. It's a very, very relaxing place to watch or to listen to anything that you're in there listening to. The last thing you want to do when you walk into your movie room is feel fatigued and have to struggle to hear the center channel. If you're having to bump up the trim on the center, that's a telltale sign you've got some issues. Once you level match your system for reference or calibrate for reference, you shouldn't have to touch it. Some people say, well, this recording, it's got weak vocals. I can tell you that I have never, ever had to adjust my center channel in my theater room. Either one of them. Never had any problems whatsoever with vocals. Now, of course, that's easier said than done, especially in a living room. In living rooms, we can't exactly just put acoustic panels all over the wall, or at least not some that are wife-friendly or that are going to look pleasing. Now, there are methods, and we're going to go over those a little bit later. You can make them look like artwork, but it costs a little more money, a little more time. Of course, you can do that DIY as well. So there are options, but it's not quite as easy. So I hope that kind of hits home why you need them, why these are so important. And believe me, if you treat your room or your space properly, it's going to save you so much money. I mean, for you guys out there that are always searching for the right speaker, you're trying these speakers out and then nothing sounds right. You go to the demo room, wherever you buy it, Best Buy, they got the Magnolia Center or whatever. You demo these speakers and they sound so much better. You get them home and it's like you're always chasing your tail. You're going to keep doing that. It is not going to stop until you take care of what is the most important factor in your room for what hits your ears. This is it. If you do not treat that room, I don't care if it's $100,000, a $200,000 set of speakers, they're going to get stomped all day long by a set of budget speakers that are well made, but they're in a properly treated room. All day long, every day, they are going to sound so much better, because you cannot just look at the speaker, you have to look at what is controlling the sound in that room, and that is the room itself. Now sure, some of you may be thinking that we've also got reflections pew, pew, coming at different angles. They're not all going to be at this horizontal angle, and that's true. But for simplicity's sake, we're not going to cover those because they're not going to be strong enough in energy, to really impact us nearly like these will here. These are the ones that everyone pays attention to. That's priority one, is getting all of those sources of reflections with high energy, the ones that are really damage the audio. Those are the ones we're going to have priority and we're really going to key in on and fix. And when we fix a lot of these, we're going to be using large panels. So we're going to be covering or even hitting a lot of those angled reflections even without even meaning to. I mean, it's just going to happen. Just like RT60, when you walk in a room and you clap and it echoes. You treat these reflections properly, you're going to handle your RT60 too. Now, if you don't know what that is, that's how long it takes a sound or a frequency in a room to dissipate or to lose 60 dB of energy. You don't want it to lose it immediately. That means you have too much absorption, but you don't want it to sound echoey and just ring either, because that means it's like an echo chamber. You need some absorption. Wouldn't be pleasing to be very fatiguing. So you got to find a happy medium, and that's what this is going to do. You treat this room properly, you take care of that as well. Alright guys, that's going to be it for this one. This one just explains why we need them. The next one, we're going to go over absorption. Everyone's heard of that. It's back from the Stone Ages. So don't forget to look down there in the description for this episode's cool find. And do not forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell right there so you know when the next videos are going to come out. Alright guys, so I'll see y'all for the next one.